This is ZHIYUN's 300. In fact, I've been using ZHIYUN's lights for quite a while. Over here is a G200. I've never really done a review for these lights. In fact, today I'm not giving you my review, but my honest opinion of my experiences of how I've used these lights and why I've actually switched from an aperture light to a G200. Once again, I'm not sponsored, and as you go through this video, you're gonna see why I am not. But my job here is to give you, the consumers, an honest opinion, whether that's good or bad, because I think you deserve to know. In fact, haven't been a big fan of ZHIYUN lights in the past. I've introduced it to you when they first introduced their... Actually, give me a second. See, this is the ZHIYUN 5-Ray V60. I've never done a review for this. In fact, when the first edition came out, I never recommended those to you because I didn't think they were good. And even to this day, I think some things need to be improved. But I think that's about to change because I actually applaud ZHIYUN for taking the initiative and venturing into a completely new industry, the lighting industry, to design and be creative enough to stretch the envelope, so to say, for us consumers or prosumers, because hey, the more competition, the better it is for you and I. So today, let's talk about this light, its improvements from the last iteration, and its good, the bad, and the ugly truth. Okay, so quickly, what's in the box? You've got the light, you've got the control unit, the reflector, and a power cord. So a couple of things straight off the bat that's different from the previous generation. First of all, this is much bigger and beefier. We've got a much thicker case on the G300 versus the 200, which is understandable. Straight away, you can tell what the benefits of this light is. The size. It's so compact and small compared to the other COBs. It just makes it so versatile in tight places or even take it away on your local trips. Now that being said, it is a double-edged sword. What do I mean? Well, on the previous version, it is even smaller, but because it's so small, there's one issue, and that's ventilation and heat. I am not saying the light will overheat and stop working. No, in fact, it's been working perfectly fine. It's just that it's gonna get very, very hot, especially you can see the grill is right on the back. On the newer version, we have a much thicker body, obviously, because we have a much more powerful light. Second of all, we have this handle grip that was missing on the previous version, which I wish they had, because as you use this over time, it's going to get very, very hot, and it's definitely not safe to touch. So having a grip like this just makes it so much convenient, so much easier, moving around, adjusting your light while you've had a couple of hours of shoots. Second design difference is this rotating grip. So this does allow you for 180 degrees of rotation. So you can mount your light any way you like, right? Now, this gives a lot of versatility. You can put it on a C-stand, which I have right now on my G200, and you can rotate it. On the older version, the mounts were a lot smaller and the rotation angle was a lot less. So making it slightly less versatile, a little bit more difficult when you try to rotate the head. But on this, it is a lot better. And this is very sturdy. This is a very solid design. Listen to it. Okay, it does also have an umbrella mount, so you can put an umbrella on the side just so you can have a little dome. Okay, so the mount itself is actually bolted on from underneath, but it's really hard to access, so I don't think you can actually remove this without some kind of specialty tool, but it is very securely locked. Now you might be wondering, why do it have a mount like this? Well, it's pretty simple. It's because it uses the same Bowens mount. So you've got a reflector here, okay, which is click on like that. Okay, so very simple, and you can use it straight away. It is locked on with the safety switch, so one click and you can remove this just like that. Because this is a Bowens mount, you can mount a lot of accessories like a dome, like a lantern, or any 4x6, anything that you have, right? So I have something, I'm just gonna put it on the side just to show you. Okay, so I have an Aperture Light Dome 2 here. I think it's around 90 centimeters, but it is very front heavy, and this is why you need such a strong heavy duty alloy mount underneath the light. It is to counterbalance the front heavy weight of the dome and still be able to stand on a C-stand. Okay, so let me unbolt this. Apart from the reflector switch, there is no other buttons on here except for a connector which goes straight to your control unit. Once again, it has its own fan to dissipate heat. This does get hot sometimes as well, so be careful, especially if you're running it at maximum power. It does have an on and off switch as well as a LCD screen. And we have two dials basically controlling the brightness and the temperature. Speaking of temperature, the light goes from 2700 to 6700 kelvins. Okay, so very warm tone to a relatively white, bright, cool tone. It is bicolor, so it should do with a lot of your applications. Now, one of the cool things about the G300 as well as the G200 is that it has a overclocked maximum mode. What that means is even though this is rated at 300 watts, it's able to output up to 500 watts. So by holding these two buttons together, the power automatically boosts to 500. This is actually sustainable through AC power, but it does put a lot of strain on your lights. Now, through my testing, I was able to use this light at max power for over 1 hour. This obviously varies between temperature. So if you're in a very hot climate, the light will automatically reduce its power because it does have a safety sensor, which is a good feature. Another thing to note, max power is set at 4300 kelvins. And that's understandable because as you adjust the temperature, different LEDs, different diodes will light up and dim to create that different temperature, thus reducing the overall output of the light. And obviously the fan will be spinning, so it's gonna make some noise. And as for the G200, it's gonna boost its power from 200 to 300 watts. So do be careful when you're handling these lights. They do get very hot, but I am very impressed that something so small can output so much power. One thing I wanna talk about, I think improvements, which I wish I saw in the previous generation as well, is the ability of V-mounts. There is no V-mount mount on this. It's not available on the previous generation. And I think the reason that they don't have this is because the way it's programmed and running that maximum power mode. If you're using V-mount, I think it's going to draw a lot of power. There could be safety and compatibility issues. So I'm sure it's something that ZHIYUN is looking into because they tend to look at customer feedback quite a lot. But right now, unfortunately, there is no V-mount option. So you have to plug it in into one of these, which means it is limited by the length of the cord. This is 7 meters. So they've done, I think so, let me double check. I wanna measure this for you guys, just wait. Okay, just over 4 meters. Okay, and this one I've just measured before, over 3 meters. So you've got about 7.5 meters of extension. But keep in mind, the control unit and the light needs to be connected and is limited by this cord, and that's 3 meters. So both of these needs to be 3 meters or closer in distance because this cord is not replaceable. However, this AC cord, if that's not long enough, just over 4 meters, you can obviously replace this. So if this is further up in the sky, if you hang it in the roof, wherever it is, you do need the app to control the power unit. And yes, this is compatible with the ZHIYUN app. So just like the G200, the G300, you can use the app to control the brightness as well as the temperature and also some other settings as well. And of course, with the app, you can link all the lights together so you can control on and off. The app is actually really intuitive. In fact, I think I have a better experience using this app than the Aperture sliders. The connectivity or pairing of the light is actually super smooth and easy and fast. You can see here, it just connects straight away and you're able to control your lights through the app very easily. There's a few other features and presets for lighting different scenarios, as well as matching colors and brightness using your phone's camera as a sensor. But for me, I like to use the tactile buttons. It's just a lot more control and it's very easily accessible just looking at the LCD screen. And you might be wondering, how bright do I need? Well, of course, the brighter, the better, because different environments require a lot of light. And just keep in mind, the further away you're from the light, the more exponential power it's needed to light the subject. But if you're on set, you're in a big area, you have lights hanging from the roofs, etc., you definitely need something more powerful, like a 300 at least. Now, speaking of set setup, this light is not designed for outdoor use. You can see it's definitely not dust and water resistant. So this is designed more for indoors, so something to keep in mind, okay? Now, apart from the app features, the unit itself does have special effects function built in. Now, most of these are useful. Some of these you might not use as often. Now, I don't personally use this effect as much because I usually mostly use it as a talking head. But if you want to use special setups, for example, lightning or flames or glowing candle lights, this is something you can use to add that atmosphere. It's also got a music mode where using the speakers on top, it's able to detect or listen to the noise, the audio, or the ambience around this unit and then reflect that in terms of flashing lights based off the beat. Now the price, I'll leave it across the screen because it varies between countries, but for me it's relatively cheaper than my previous light, which was the Aperture lights. And the reason that I switched to this light is because, number one, the compacting size. I don't know if you can tell from the last time we spoke, I've actually changed studio, so this is actually a very small room. So I needed the compact size because my other lights just wouldn't fit. Actually, let me show you. I've got it right here with me. This is my Aperture 300X, and yeah, you can tell by the size. This is the control unit and the power transformer. You can tell in size. And then of course I've got the light itself, right? It's a lot bigger for different reasons, but yes. So is it for you? I guess a couple of things to take in consideration. Do you need to shoot it outdoors? Do you need a V-mount battery for versatility? Or size and compactness is something that you consider or prioritize? Also, of course, the price. So obviously everyone is different and these factors do add up. I've listed the pros and the cons. So finally, it's up to you to decide. But like I said, all my reviews are honest, unbiased, and unsponsored, so hopefully I give you a good insight on my experience using this light. And if you'd like to see more honest reviews like this, feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you next one. Thank you for staying to the end. Peace.